ko apau. This is Kaiopua Fife with the Kiwani Foundation, once again bringing you another segment of Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future. And today we're on in Waimea, actually on Hawaii, Big Island, at Hawaii Preparatory Academy. And there's a very interesting project going on here, Ho'ea. We'll be doing several interviews with some of the participants here on that project based on art and the perpetuation of traditional arts plus contemporary, and how to become successful as an artist. And one of the fellows that we met just this morning, that we're happy to get him to break away from his industry in the art projects, Jerryl Mauhili?
My name is Jerryl Mauhili.
Mauhili. Jerryl Mauhili is with us, and I thank you very much for spending some time with us.
You're welcome.
I explained with Jerryl a little bit earlier that our objective on Voice of Truth is to feature people who are doing different things in the community, and it appears that you're doing some things in the community. So we'd kind of like to ask you to kind of introduce yourself to our viewing audience, tell what you'd like to about your background and how you got to be to what you're doing today, whatever that is. And we can get into that as we go along.
Well, first of all, I'm a third-generation Hawaiian homestead leasee, and my property is located on the Hilo side, East Hawaii, and I've been awarded a 5-acre ag parcel. So along with that, I've also been given an RP for a property up in the Honolulu area.
RP being?
That's a revocable permit.
Okay.
So that's additional lands that I've acquired through the Department of Hawaiian Homes. And my quest was to utilize and maxify the agricultural use of these lands. And right now in Honolulu, there's a total of 767 acres. Right now it's kind of mixed use right now with pastoral, and I'm the Kanaka that's trying to emphasize on agriculture. So what we do is we're set ourselves up with trying to do education to youth.
Yeah.
So we were working with the Hilo High School students and gave them some awareness of the land, the ahapua, the fact that in the days of old there were products from the mountain as well as products from the ocean, and it was bartered before. It was trade. Simply put, the ahapua was facilitated the koa logs that was used for use of canoes and stuff like that. So the people on the Makai section would, of course, get those products from the forested areas, come down. And being that we're located right next to the Akaka Falls State Park, I believe that it would be an excellent opportunity for our Wailele Oaxaca Botanical Gardens and Farm project to entertain and educate the Malahinis that visit us, as well as the Kamainas. I like to have our students, our keikis, the future leaders, come up and take part of the land, what it used to do, what it can do for the modern day Hawaiian today. And again, simply put, it's an agricultural product.
Yes. For those of you who are viewing us on the internet, where you might be anywhere in the world and maybe not familiar with some of the terms, you used the term ahupua'a, and that's an area of land, hopefully encompassing the needs of a community within that, where you may, from the mountains to the sea. You said Makai, that's mountains to the sea. Hopefully could sustain itself within those boundaries, not always, but I think that was the ideal situation. And you used the term malihini and keiki and a couple others, which we're trying to educate the folks who are listening so that they can, when they hear those words, they don't sound so totally foreign and they know what we're talking about. So one of the things that's happened over the past several years is there's been such a demand for these types of conversations internationally that people are watching these videos from all over the world. So we have people who are wondering, oh, I wonder what that term means. So occasionally we may stop and say, well, what we're talking about really here is keikis are young young people, that, that kind of thing. So Hawaiian Homes lessee for 3 generations. That's going back just about to the beginning of the program, probably, huh?
Yes, my grandmother first applied for Hawaiian homelands back in 1940, and this is down in the Keaukaha area. I believe other settlements in Pololu Valley, not Pololu Valley, we're in Oahu, Molokai, as well as the Big Island. Right now we are talking about Keaukaha.
Yeah.
It first started off with 1 acre of land parcels, and right now the average Hawaiian homestead housing property is from half acre down to 5,000 square feet.
Right.
So you can see the need for land and the fact that we've come from an acre to down to, you know, a quarter of an acre and even less.
Postage stamp size.
Yes.
Yeah, housing.
For housing.
Well, the thing that, you know, as I understand the original intent of the act was to put Hawaiians on land that would help to sustain them somehow, and additionally enable them to have housing and so forth on it. But there's, it seems like the housing aspect has gotten the most attention, and I guess with good reason. A lot of Kanakas who are having a hard time, you know, building their houses and getting decent places to live. So that's necessary, but I think a big part of the act, Hawaiian Homelands Act, was to help to ensure that people could sustain themselves too. So, and that gets into the agricultural area, the pastoral uses, you know, raising animals and raising crops and being able to generate our own food. And I think that's been kind of put to the side here recently.
More importantly, as you just stated, the agricultural, pastoral, and even aquaculture development was meant to create forms of sustainability. Without food, we would need to go to supermarkets and buy our food. But with the aina that we have, the land that we have, I believe that we've got a whole bunch of things that we need to progress forward. Education, understanding the land, the aina, its needs, elevation, what can grow, what can't grow,
Sure.
Crop rotation. Those are very important factors, and with today's modern technology of aquaculture and hydroponics, a lot of things can and will depend on water use and water availability.
Water management.
Yes. And at that point, you can have the nutriated water come and filter through different sections of the field and actually create the diversified crops that you wish to put on the land. Yeah.
You know, speaking of water, you, this particular acreage that you have the use of, what's the water situation there?
We don't have actual running water.
Yeah.
We have a couple streams running through the land site. And, but again, if it's not a registered flume system, you won't be able to really draw water out of the rivers. The fact that the Hawaii State confines and keeps all of its mineral resources to their availability, not so much to the Kanakas, creates a little problem.
Yeah. We look at the different ecosystems around the islands, and food was grown in all the different locales, but I guess a lot of it had to be adapted and evolved to adapt to the conditions. So some of the crops probably don't need a running water situation. I would hope. You know, I know we all think of taro and kalo as we see them in these beautiful lo'i with all this fresh water coming through, but there are a lot of places where it's farmed dryland too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so right now, as you stated, in Waipio, as an example, they've got lohe, water lohes there that would minimize the weeds that infiltrate the lohe or the taro patches. But there's many problems there as well. Apple snails, you know, different things that farmers have to contend with.
Right.
I believe that right now, if with the program that we've got, diversified crops, you know, you really need to be able to have a market to sell your product. Otherwise, it'd be kind of mute for doing all that work and not getting a fair return on things.
Yeah. I know some of the projects around the state. We have some on Kauai, and like their short-term, immediate objectives were to grow the taro, grow the kalo, process it, and manufacture poi, just to begin with, just for the kupuna in the community. And so the first production of the poi is distributed to the kupuna. It's not an income-generating thing, but it helps to sustain the community to some extent. And then as they increase their capacity and their ability to distribute and market and so forth, then they get into, you know, how much do they have that they can actually sell and so forth. We were on Maui a couple weeks ago, and we went to a buffet type lunch type thing. And we were happy to see there that they were using a lot of local produced products from Kanaka. Farmers who were growing the taro, who were growing sweet potatoes and so forth. So they were actually generating enough overage beyond their own needs to, you know, sell them to the restaurants, which is great. I mean, if we could just take care of our own needs right here, we don't worry about exporting and all that kind of stuff, but just sustain ourselves. So you've got land, and I guess you have a plan, and you're working with students, and so where are you at in that progression? Where are you to the point where you're planting and you're harvesting, or where are you at in this project?
Well, again, if I go back to being the third generation Hawaiian homestead leasee, this property that I'm talking about up in the Honomu or Hamakua area of the Big Island, East Hawaii, we've acquired this land as of March 2007. So the farm is still in an infant stage. What our plans and goals are is to create an educational center, and really educational, cultural, herbal healing center. And I believe that can take care of food products, the type of herbal medicines that we use, and really to malama, or to take care of the land, so that at that point, understanding your soil pH, your insects that'll come in and disrupt things, you need to know how to crop rotate your products.
Fungus, everything else.
Yeah, actually, you know, nematodes and different things like this. But in essence, just like what you said, if we could grow food for ourselves, and that's for our family members, our friends, and then extend it out to markets, then we can be self-sustainable. And I think that's the whole thing in today's age. With the cost of land, right now our economy is a bit stricken right now, but if you can get your food from your garden, you can sustain life in nutritional value. I think at that point you've solved one of the problems.
Definitely, that's one of the basic building blocks of self-sustainability, and a lot of people don't realize that there's not that you need to put a dollar value on it, but every nutritional item that you grow and consume yourself is something you don't have to buy, or nobody else has to produce or import or ship in from Mexico or wherever else in the world it might come from. So that's basic food sovereignty, I guess, you know. If you can take care of yourself, if you have a little bit extra, fine, then you can go into the economic, you know, the financial side of it, where you're actually selling and receiving. I like to look at what I think was kind of the basic model in Hawaii, where you had farmers and you had fishermen and you had craftspeople and you had artisans and you had people took care of different things. I mean, they may have done multiple things, but sometimes there was a focus on one certain responsibility or kuleana. And if everybody took care of that, everybody got taken care of. If the man was out fishing and he had excess fish, well, he'd swap, and if you had excess poi or taro or whatever, it worked out. You know, kind of what today they may call an underground type economy, but I mean, that was a basic way things were done in the old days.
Yes, it was a barter system, yeah? It wasn't based and evolved around money. It was evolved around the fact that as you were well at your art, whether it was fishing or the planting of crops, at that point you would have enough so that you could share it out.
Yeah.
I think right now, to answer your question, my project in the Hamakua area would love to teach and educate people in regards to the Hawaiian lifestyle, the fact that aloha, and in its true meaning, can round itself off to everybody, you know, not just amongst the local people here, but as you see foreigners coming in, you give them that warm smile of aloha. And as they leave and you just say aloha until we see each other again, you know. I think that's very important on lifestyles and the fact that we can be at that point where we can welcome others as they come. Now, as far as this project here, I'm looking at
Talking about
Hawaiian program right now. I heard about this through a radio ad. I called up, and lucky enough, there was an opening, and I came, and I right now spend my 4 solid weeks right now to 8 to 6 in the evening learning the fact that we got kapa, which is something that I believe we can share with the people. And
that's a traditional cloth.
it's a traditional
bark
thing.
Cloth, yeah.
But more important, it was that you take the emphasis on doing things right and coming out with a quality product. And at that point, if that was used for clothing in the days of old, this would just be bringing back and the reminiscence of how things were made. Because I believe the Hawaiian lifestyle was never about total production and multitude, but when you put all of your energy and your mana, your power, all of your being in itself into a product, and then you gave it so freely to someone. Today we put prices on things, but as you gave things, there is no price to all the mana and time that you put into the article, you know, the piece of art. So I believe right now learning kapa, learning the fact that we can understand how the bowls were made. So this is getting into a higher end of art. The bowls that we could use so that we could put our food in and actually put as our, as our means of what time and effort we put into this bowl making. We've also got, let's see, what else do we have? Jewelry. So we can make some of our things, and a lot of people have been making some fish hooks and different things like that. I believe that in the days of old, the fish hooks were really made so that they could catch the fish. And
sure, it wasn't jewelry, but
fish, yes.
It might have you might have worn it as an adornment, but you used it to catch fish.
Yeah.
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 Well, my understanding about the project here, Hawaii too, though, is it's looking at contemporary applications of traditional art mediums also, which is kind of interesting. I know we traveled up in British Columbia, Victoria, British Columbia, several years back, and we could see up there with the First Nations, as they refer to themselves up there, everything from all the way up in Alaska, all the northern United States First Nations. Some of them had really taken their art, traditional art, to a really high level. And some of it became, contemporary style, but they were working artists, and they were people who were able to, perpetuate the traditional stuff, but also do contemporary. Art is a living thing, and so as much as we appreciate and need to hang on to the great things out of the past, things evolve. It's human nature, I think, So we saw up there that they had really attained a high level of independency too. I mean, it was a financial thing for them because, of course, the tourists like it. But I mean, it gets beyond that to where you get world-class art evolving, and we have that here. I mean, we're talking about kapa. There's a high demand for it as an art medium also. I mean, there's way more demand than we can meet. I mean, we originally on Kauai got started on the kapa projects primarily to traditionally prepare the bones that were returning from the
For the
different-
EV,
yeah, the EV, the bones remains, funerary remains that were coming back from all of the different museums around the world. They just absolutely had to have the bones of our ancestors in their vaults. But that's how we started doing the kapa. So it was revitalized for that basic focus, you know, so that we could create kapa and reinter the remains as they came back. But of course, those who really stayed with that have taken it to another level, and now it's into the area of not only clothing, but as an art, and it's fantastic. I mean, there's some great things going on over here. When I walked up and talked to you first thing this morning, you were cleaning your tools, your implements. You use natural wood implements, and you have to maintain them, keep the quality up. But you mentioned something about it's kind of, I think it's kind of a compulsion. And I can look back from the time I was a kid, when you do something, you're supposed to do it right.
Yes.
I mean, if you don't, I mean, people, you know, it's not a good thing. And it's kind of like you've raised the level of what you do to expertise, you become an expert at what you do, or don't fool with it, you know?
I think everyone in themselves are artists, in whatever you do.
Yeah.
I think the level of quality just comes in practice and perfection. So right now I'm expanding my knowledge by coming to classes such as this, so that as I become this kupuna, that an elder person that can teach the opio, which is the children, our future, then we can bring the magnificence of the crafts, whatever we decide to do, and the importance of the tools, as you say. It's not to be taken lightly. You know, you need to take care of your tools.
Yeah.
Like a carpenter, without a hammer, how does he do his job? You know, but with
Or a dull chisel.
or a dull chisel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just will make things that much harder to get accomplished. But yes, I think life is always a learning episode of day to day. And then as you can share that, that's the important part. Because to accumulate all of this knowledge and not be able to share it with your children and your children's children, then I think we've wasted our time.
Well, I think that's why, you know, these kind of work sessions are so important, because although they have, you know, we have kumu, or the teachers, and then we have students, the truth is there's an interaction going on, and everybody's really a student. I mean, we look at the kumu and they're all sharing, and they're evolving, you know, they're educating themselves, sharing their knowledge, finding better ways to do things. So we're constantly always feeling our way out. But to get back to your project, your agricultural project, you've got the land and you've got the plan. You're going to need some other types of support, I'm sure. What are your expectations? What are your needs? Who can address them?
Currently, we're negotiating with the Department of Hawaiian Homes for a longer-term lease. I believe that with our business plan, we'd like to do a kauhale, which is a building that can be used for education, for the fact that you just come and reminisce over the past. We're located in an excellent site where tourists already come up. And so right now, if we can emphasize on the past cultural practices, the fact that we need to malama the land,
take care of it. Yeah.
Without good water, without proper cycling, we will just have our land run itself down. So I believe that right now, if we can be educators to the people that do want to get into agriculture, I think that my program can help the department assist in education, understanding NPK, you know, which is nitrogen, phosphate, and potash, understand the pH balance. And then once you've got that balance and that clear understanding, I think at that point you can experiment with different crops. You know, you don't have to be just in the conventional kalo, uala, the breadfruit, the yams, the tapioca. You know, we can get into fruits. We can get into different things. Right now, there's a big need for, let's see, if we're looking at energy sufficiency. So if we're looking at getting solar power and everything else.
That's taking us into, it's clear that this is it's going to be another huge thing, and that's the way things develop.
Right.
You start out and then you realize just how all-encompassing it is. We're coming to a close on the time that we have for this segment, and you know, obviously we could go on and on about this, and we'll have maybe some other opportunities in the future and touch bases with you. But for right now, we'd like to say mahalo to you, Jerryl, and good luck with your project. And we'd like to mention to you, those of you who are out there who live in Hawaii and maybe are Hawaiian home lessees or people who are interested in you know, agriculture, any of the items that we talked about today, get out and look at who's doing these things in your community and team up with them. You know, get some good things done. That's the whole point. Contribute to a healthy community and do your part. Once again, mahalo for being with us. Kaiopua 5 with the Koani Foundation, Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future, a component of Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network. Hui ho.